Hey everyone! Today we're going to look at the machine that students here in China have been using to cheat on their homework. But to put that into context, we need to talk about the Chinese education system a bit. As many of you know, I was educated entirely in China. I would have liked to study abroad but didn't have the opportunity. Our education is fairly heavy on STEM subjects: science, technology, engineering, and math, and somewhat lighter on other subjects, although a good amount of Chinese literature. We all study English, but real fluency is unusual. And of course, all this is taught with a heavy emphasis on rote memorization. There's very little discussion or debate. Your teacher defines truth. What is factual, you memorize it and repeat it back. This is actually not bad for STEM subjects. There are no Chinese flat earthers, but it obviously has significant drawbacks in other areas. This focus on memorization is kind of unavoidable since it's the only way to become literate in our language. Here's why. Chinese words are pictographs, symbols that represent entire concepts. So the word for home is a pig. See the legs there? Under a roof? From the days when livestock was kept on the first floor of a home and people lived above. Not all Chinese words are as easy to trace to their origins, and some are only used as modifiers to other words. But the basic idea holds true. You can sometimes make an educated guess how a word is pronounced by the parts that made it up. But for the most part, you got it, memorization. Lots and lots of it. So just to be able to read, we need to be able to recognize about 3,000 different characters, but there are thousands more. Many of them quite similar in appearance. Many are homophones, completely different words that are pronounced the same or almost the same way. There's our version of a tongue twister, 西施死时40世, or 西施 died at 44. That's 6 different characters, and even though it sounded like I said each one a little differently, someone from another part of China would say it differently from me. So in an immigrant city like Shenzhen, where people come from all over China to make their fortune, and nearly everyone speaks the national dialect, Mandarin as their second dialect, it's pretty common to have to ask someone to repeat something to figure out which word they meant to say, because Miss Wu, 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 and Wu are 4 entirely different people. But wait, it gets worse. See those lines that make up each character? They need to be drawn in the correct direction and order. So, as you can imagine, by the time we learn to read and write, we are already experts in rote memorization, because there really is no other path to literacy in Chinese. No phonics or anything like that. Once you've mastered the hammer of rote memorization, well, everything looks like a nail. In fairness, it is a powerful tool. A lot of what you see on this channel is just me throwing crazy hours in Chinese study habits as facts I can memorize and hard skills I can learn through repetition. I'm not talented, just studious. Unfortunately, it's a tool we often don't know how to put away when other tools are better. But anyway, being a Chinese student means endless writing, copying source material and repeating it. And even though writing by computer is much faster, it means you can avoid the repetition and leads to the memorization. So a lot of the time, our teachers insist we write by hand, pen and paper. Recently, some people saw an opportunity in this and started selling a machine that would fake handwriting for students. What I want to do is unbox it and see if the lessons it teaches on automation are more important than any lessons lost cheating at homework. So pretty straightforward design. 3 stepper motors and an Arduino. So it's just like a 3D printer or CNC engraver. Honestly, great hardware for a kid to be playing with. Let's hook it up and try out the software.
为什么要用呢？
因为它可以帮我写作业。
耶！那你这不是偷懒了吗？肯定不可以用写字的机器人给你代写作业的了。
妈妈觉得是肯定不能用的。
哦，不能用。那你这样子，你说他写了以后写字这个方面他就写不好了呀，肯定要手写的这个。
妈妈不会让我们用，我自己会用。
为什么呢？
因为它可以帮我写作业，我自己就可以不用写就可以玩了呀。
那这样等于是机器人在学习啊，不是你自己在学习啊。
写字他帮我写，然后我再看一下就行了。当然了，这样不用写作业，抄生字的时候不用太累了。
Okay, I've got it all set up. Let's try to write some Chinese on the line paper and see how the machine does. All right, let's take a look. I wish back then I have this machine so that I could skip all the homework and just get them by the machine. I'm evil. But I think there are more uses for this, but wow, that doesn't look like written by machine at all. So I put the brush pen in the machine and let's just see how it handles calligraphy. Okay, let's take a look. I mean, I use the fonts in their software, so in my opinion, it's not that bad. I can tell if you tell me this is writing by a machine, I won't believe it because it looks like it's written by human. And if you want to select other fonts, you can actually put in other fonts and then create a file and then write down the words you want to write. Next step, let's see how it handles English. So I think it looks perfectly fine. I mean, not perfect, but in my eyes, it looks fine. It's written by, I can tell it's written by a machine. And then I show it to my foreign friends, and then they say, any American teacher would tell you there's something wrong with it's not written by human, it's written by machine. I'm like, how? And then I fought, and I thought, I'm like, how? And here's what I figured out. Okay, now I'm going to type 4 I's and 4 W and see what the machine will do. Take a look at the 4 I's and 4 W. They're monospace. In Chinese, every character is monospace In the computer, it looks fine. The 4i and 4w has different relief. But in here, they're the same because Chinese fonts, they're supposed to go like in all aligned in line. And so I think the person who made this software thinks this should apply to other fonts. So here it goes, in English it's the same. Now I notice the problem. They are monospace, just like the Chinese. Interesting. It's honestly a really well-built machine. If I can find a link, I'll post it in the description. It would need English software though, and something that handle kerning and variable width fonts correctly. It's just G-code, so I'm sure there are options. One of the really interesting things is, unlike a lot of pen plotters I've seen, it has a real Z-axis. This could vary brush pressure and so line width, but they just don't seem to have enabled it. It would be cool to try and play around with. Lastly, is this really cheating on homework? I think I would only consider this machine cheating if used by a parent on behalf of their child, and having seen it in action, I'm a bit suspicious that's what was really going on. This is quite pricey for a kid, and Chinese parents are too nosy for us to hide something like this. But what if a kid sets this up and uses it themselves? Personally, while I think patience with hours of repetition is an important tool to give children, since it practically guarantees competence at almost any skills they ever want to learn, there is a time and place for that lesson. This machine doesn't really get them out of homework. More like it gives them an alternative assignment. The essays still has to be written, and setting up the machine to print it will save a bit of time, but it's certainly more challenging and educational than handwriting. It also doesn't help them with the content of their essay. There is no plagiarism. It doesn't harm creative thinking and problem-solving skills, which is what we really need to nurture in Chinese children. What about Western kids? If you were a teacher or parent and you found one of these hidden under the bed, what would you do? Let me know in the comments. That's it for today. Please join if you can afford it, or subscribe if you can't. The more followers I have, the easier it is to get interesting things to show you. It's just a quick button click to subscribe, and it really helps. I'll see you all next time, and remember, if I can do it, anyone can do it.